and great honor to introduce this upcoming panel. By the way, some of you might have noticed I was at the end of the food line, and some of you didn't give me $10. I'm going to be over in the back of the room. You can Venmo me. It's slush fund. No. It's to cover costs. So again, this panel is of great interest to all of us because I think many people in this room readily realize that CUNY's greatest strength in the past, currently, and forevermore are these people, the students. So it's really exciting to have opportunities for them to share their perspective and their insights so we can better serve them and they can better serve their community. So today's panel is going to be moderated by my coworker, Asma Neblett. Asma herself is a graduate of CUNY, her master's degree, and she's done some beautiful work at Lehman in the past 2 years. Her official title is the Online Student Support and Academic Research Specialist. She also is the Online Learning Student Peer Mentoring Lead, a program that serves over 11,000 students a semester via leveraging platforms like Navigate and to better engage our online students, to better understand their perspectives and how we all can best go forward. So without further ado, Asma.
Thank you so much. And of course, all applause go to our students here today. So I apologize for the people who are sitting on this side of the room because we had a setup where there were some tables, and one of my colleagues who's on the panel today, he's very disappointed that we removed the tables because he wanted it to be like sports style, where we sit down and we debrief in that way. But I thought it would be good for us to kind of get into like a circle format because that's what I'm used to in academic settings. So seeing that this is the occasion for that, why not keep some things consistent? I'm going to do a little bit of reading. Excuse me as I adjust. I'm going to do a little bit of reading from the papers that I have in front of me before we, freehand or freestyle a little bit. So again, I just want to introduce myself. My name is Asma Neblett. I am a specialist at Lehman for the Center for Teaching and Learning and the moderator for today's panel on authentic learning and technology. And I'm very excited for us to delve into what that means. Before we get started though, I want to begin with gratitude. A lot of thank yous, but they won't take me too long to riddle off. So the first is I would like to thank our student panelists who agreed to share their stories and their perspectives today on much of what we've been talking about for the first portion of today's showcase. They represent the excellence at CUNY. And then next, I want to say thank you to the Bronx EdTech Showcase Committee for putting all of this together and for also giving student perspectives the opportunity to shine in the next few minutes. Thank you to Hostos as well. Your campus is beautiful. I like it. Thank you for letting us use your resources. And I have a big thank you, one more thank you, but I have a big thank you to my colleagues, John and Giancarlos, our spring interns, my directors, Dermot, Allison, and Olena at the Center for Teaching and Learning for their support today. They've been so instrumental for us having dry runs at like 7 p.m. last night, just to make sure everybody was comfortable. So thank you guys. I appreciate you guys so much. But the big thank you, in addition to our students, and I promise I'm at the end, is to the audience. Thank you guys for any attention and reception that you have to what students might say and how that can inform the way that you teach and how you administer in CUNY. So we're good on the thank yous now. And I want to bring us next, before we get to the introductions of our students, to kind of like ground us in an understanding of authentic learning, because I had never heard really of that concept prior to hearing about the announcement for this year's showcase. And so the definition or the interpretation that informs the questions and also the panel understands authentic learning as an opportunity to really apply your knowledge in meaningful ways in and outside of the classroom. So that's kind of the layperson and the student perspective that we are maintaining today. Thank you guys for dealing with the meta stuff. And so Now, I want to just give you an idea about the flow as well. So first, we'll just begin with like scaffolding, just exploring students' experience in this academic year. Then we'll focus on what technologies that they used for their learning experience, and then we'll close with some reflections that I think are part of the course for authentic learning. So just figuring out what their challenges were, you know, what opportunities came up, and any advice that they might have to their peers who are clearly not in this room necessarily, though we have some interns from the program that we run at the Center for Teaching and Learning at Lehman. So I'm going to begin with the introduction prompt, if we could. And I think we have another microphone over here on the end. Okay, Khadijatou, seeing that you have the microphone in your hand, if you could just introduce yourself to the audience by your name, your campus, and then what are you studying, and maybe just a quick note about, you know, why. And if that microphone doesn't work, let me just.
Hello.
Okay, cool. All right.
Hello, my name is Khadijatou Jawara, and I'm a pre-nursing student and a freshman at Lehman College, and I'm also an intern in their Center of Teaching and Learning.
Hello. Oh, sorry. Hi, my name is Giancarlos. I am also a Lehman student as well. I'm also a ed technologist and a student peer mentor for the Center of Teaching and Learning at Lehman College. I'm happy to be here as well. Like Asma said, I thought there were going to be tables in front of us because I watched the Knicks game last night, so I had that mentality of coming here and answering questions. But I'm here. I'm glad to be here.
Hi, everyone. My name is Stephanie. I am a student at Hostos Community College. Woohoo! I am graduating this month from Hostos, and my major is liberal arts, AA, and my pathway is nursing.
Hello, everyone. My name is Alex Batres. I'm a first-year student at Bronx Community College. I'm currently studying business administration and marketing. And outside of school, I'm an artistic director with the Possibility Project. So, pleasure to have you.
Hello, everyone. I'm Francis, and I go to Lehman College. I am a freshman in media communications.
Hello, everybody. My name is Shawn McLaughlin, and I'm a freshman at Bronx Community College and a business administration major, and I'm also a college assistant for the CTLT at my school.
Excellent. So let's begin with some questions. And it's a question I pose to each of you. So we'll just be tight for this, this one that I have, which is, you know, be it good or challenging, how would you rate or categorize your learning experience this year?
Since I already have the mic, I think I'll go first. So I'd rate my learning experience like kind of modern for this year. I'm kind of in a special predicament because I'm a asynchronous student for this semester, but because I did on campus last semester, I can give, I guess, an experience of both. So I'd say it was pretty moderate because I feel like on-campus work is a lot easier, in my opinion, just because the amount of work is less frequent than asynchronous. But with asynchronous, I do feel like even though the workload is more, I'm able to balance my life a lot easier despite that. I just got to put in a little bit extra effort.
Can you repeat the question?
Sure. You know, how would you basically describe your learning experience? I said rate or categorize, but we just want to get some insight about the quality of your learning experience this year.
Okay. The quality of my learning experience this year was pretty awesome. The classes I had were all very creative and pushed me out of my comfort zone in creating content. and having a new perspective on how to create content, how to reach my my audience, who my audience is, and how it's not about me, but the message that I'm trying to put out there in a creative way. And I've absolutely enjoyed it, and I think I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be.
For me, it's been really interesting. There's many ways I could describe this past year. It's been challenging, it's been new, but if I could use one word in particular, it would be like a blessing, because I've been out of school for some time. I got my GED back in 2013, and coming back to school now, yeah, it's been like really interesting, but I'm learning so much, and I just feel blessed to be, back into it, learning, and just meeting new people, learning new things. And yeah, that's the best way I could describe it, for sure.
You again. So for me, it was crazy. It was one of the most overwhelming semesters I ever had, because it was the wrap up of the liberal arts. I'm also at the American Heart Association Scholars Program. And then I had the CUNY Peer Leaders Program, and then the Leadership Academy program at Hostos. So it was a lot of things that I had to do, but it was an amazing experience. Like it pushed me so much. Like I had to really focus and be able to manage time, and you know so it was a great experience, just a little overwhelming.
Yeah, my year was definitely moderate. I transferred jobs, and then basically from there, I was with the Center of Teaching and Learning, and we were doing many projects, going to showcases just like this one. So yeah, I guess my year was definitely moderate. I take online classes mostly. It definitely helps me with keeping my schedule more flexible, and yeah.
I'll say my experience for this year has been great because of the classes that I'm taking, and also being in the internship program for the Center of Teaching and Learning has me learning different experiences and stuff.
Very nice. And I was trying to write down everything that, a couple of things that stood out, but with managing time, going back to school, and then internship experiences, moving and transitioning, from one work role on campus to another work role on campus. I imagine that technologies probably came up in your experiences. So just by a show of hands, and then I'll ask my next question. How many of you had to use AI for, okay. So a majority of you had to use AI, and also I imagine technology in general to support you. So I have a question that I'm first gonna pose to you, Stephanie, and then to Giancarlos as well. But I know you guys had some specific use cases for generative AI. And so I would love if you could just elaborate on what they were about.
Sure. So as I'm graduating, I had to take a capstone class, and my capstone is the power of storytelling. My amazing mentor is right here. A round of applause for her, please. And we have, at the end of the class, we have to create a capstone project. And because of our classes, the power of storytelling, we were asked to create a story. So I've been through a lot this year's. Like I'm from Brazil. I've been here for only 3 years, and I've been through a lot during this time. And Hostos has helped me in so many ways in CUNY. And I wanted something to give back, like to show the experience and to influence people and to show them that that is possible to achieve your goals and dreams. So I decided to write about my story, and we wanted to do something like audiovisual, but the professors told me that they said we wouldn't be able to get an artist. I don't know how to draw, so it was impossible for me to create the imaging by myself. But she told me that I could use AI, and when she told me that, I decided to look for it, and it was a hard time I had to find the right tool, the right app. But I used ChatGPT to create the prompt to create the AI imaging. So it was like I used the ChatGPT to create the prompt, and then I transferred the prompt to the AI image generator. And here's my project. If you looked at the screen, um, it became a book, and it's a picture book, and it's called Por Onde For Floresça. It means wherever you go, bloom. And um, here it's my main character. Her name is Flora. It's representing me and my curls as flowers. And here it's talking about my state, Paraíba in Brazil. Um, that's my mom. My mom is white. And that's me when I was a teenager, going to school and suffering bullying at school because of my hair and my skin color. Here's when I decided to straighten my hair because of the bullying, and to end the pain, I decided to straighten my hair. Um, so this is me with my grandpa. He talking about his mom. That was a blend of indigenous people and black people. This is me at school seeing representation, and that's where I decided to bloom again, to have my curlies back. That's me as a ballerina, because I'm a retired ballerina. That's me going to São Paulo because I'm from the Northeast. So São Paulo is at the south of Brazil. That's me working as a nurse because I graduated as a nurse in Brazil first in 2016. And that's one of my patients. And at the book, she tells me something that changed my mind. Here is me deciding to come to America as an au pair, and in the imaging, I illustrated me learning English, learning how to swim, and learning how to drive. I'm the first woman in my family to do that. Here is me and the person I fell in love when I got into America. Here's me being heartbroken. Here's me being an au pair and take care of children here in the US. That's me when I went to struggles and I had to live in my car for a couple weeks. That's me coming to Hostos, very happy. That's me going through something that I never imagined before. It was when I was taking care of a child here in the US, and she told me that she didn't like my skin color or my hair. And I never thought that I would be going through that again. Like as a kid, it's kind of normal. It's not nice, but it's kind of normal. You go through bullying at school. But after adulthood, like seeing a child saying to you that she doesn't like your skin color because she doesn't like dark skin, she just likes their mommy and daddy skin color, it was hard for me.
Stephanie, thank you so much. I want to make sure we get to everyone.
Sure.
Can we keep your visuals up for those?
Sure.
Thank
sure.
you so much. And I have some questions, and I'm so sorry to cut you off. I have some questions also about how you went about your selection process for the images that you included in your book, so don't lose your thought just yet. I want to make sure that we get to also Giancarlos as well, because you had a use case for generative AI. Could you share with us what that entails?
I had a use case about Copilot. Basically, I wanted to show the students a little bit more on how to use Copilot. We basically introduced Microsoft Copilot with our login.cuny account. And so with Copilot, we would have ChatGPT 4 integrated within it, as well as Dolly. And once we get the licenses with Microsoft, we're able to integrate it within our Teams, our Outlook, PowerPoint, and Word with all that.
Amazing. Stephanie and Giancarlos, you guys are doing some very cool things.
Thank you so much.
And to our other student panelists, you guys noted that you either had to use AI or just learn more about it. So could you briefly share also how that came up for you and your learning experiences this year?
Yeah, for sure. So last semester, I actually took Theater 71 at Bronx Community College, and our professor there actually came up with a play using ChatGPT, and it was called "Pretending to Be Someone You're Not is Using AI Cheating." And so it was really interesting for me. I'm a performer, and I've performed in a bunch of shows, but to be in a show that was written by ChatGPT was kind of surreal. And the character I played was a young man. It was a breakup scene where he was breaking up with his girlfriend because she had found out that the love letters he was writing to her, he used ChatGPT to write those letters. And so it was crazy. It was interesting, but it really, afterwards we had a Q&A, and it really opened up a conversation around ChatGPT in the learning space. And I thought it was really great. It was interesting because when we think about ChatGPT and when we talk about it in school, actually it doesn't get talked about. It's a little taboo, right? Because you hear professors say, we don't want you using AI or don't use ChatGPT or anything like that. So to have that conversation and to have the opportunity to hear from both students and professors around this topic was definitely beneficial. So yeah, that was my experience with it so far. Yeah.
So my introduction to AI started last September, and I went to a panel like this at Center for Communications, where the panel was called AI in Journalism. Is it a good or bad thing, or something to that effect? And I went because I was actually concerned and afraid of AI because it can generate it's just an imaginary pit of any type of thing you can vision. So why would they need writers or content creators after a while if all they could do is generate it with a machine? And then they went on the writer strike, and we had all that chaos going on creatively. So that's why I went. I went to find out what this was all about and if I should be afraid. And when I was there, it totally changed my perspective because they shared that as journalists, they actually saw it as a helpful tool to have a conversation and brainstorm, like a think tank. So you can't go in there expecting it to give you answers. You have to already have an idea and ask it questions about your idea to help open it up, to help see it bloom, to see if it's going to work, to be inspired. And I started using it that way ever since. So I'm a huge fan of it now.
I'd say my first, excuse me. I'd say my first experience with AI was about last year. I really wasn't in college at the time. I'm a freshman now, but my experience with it was I was trying to learn C# at the time. And it was a bit of a struggle for me because it was a bit more complicated than Python, which I learned in high school. So it was in order for me to understand the differences and understand what terms was called and what I was basically using the AI as like an instructor because I wasn't in college at the time. So I didn't really have a, instructor that I can call up or I have a question. So I was just basically self-learning with an AI, which ended up helping me, through my journey because things were sticking. I was learning more. I was, becoming more engaged with what I was even giving myself projects using YouTube, not even just the AI, but also YouTube and other sources, boot camps, all sort of, just to build my knowledge. And so I see it as a tool more than I guess, just an answer machine or whatever. I see it as a tool. I see it as a asset to learning.
Definitely. And Khadijah too. If you, I don't know if you want to also share as well the use case that you came up with for the center as well.
So I created a use case about ChatGPT as a generative AI, and I picked virtual assistants, and I found prompts that would help with how to use ChatGPT, how to generate it in educational content, and yeah.
Very nice. So you guys each have brought up, an aspect that kind of speaks to challenges or opportunities perhaps. But, Stephanie, you said earlier, right, getting generative AI to sort of do what you want it to do in order to produce the final beautiful product that we see on the screen here took some work. So, the question I have to each of you is, what challenges came up and, did it support your learning experience or did it deter it a little bit? So I want to begin with you, Stephanie. And if you remembered a little bit of what you left off on, please feel free to share it with us.
Sure. It's actually, I think it's just a few more imaging. This is the last image I created for the book. So it was very hard to get what I wanted because it's not easy to create brown skin girl with the hair made of flowers. And that's why I used ChatGPT to create the prompts, because every time I use my own words, it would come up with something different. Like when I asked to create the brown skin girl with the hair made of grass, she came green. The whole girl came green. And it took me a while to get into the brown skin girl with the green hair. So it is a little bit very, like, it is challenging to get to do what you want.
And you said you had to use your own words, and so I'm curious: did you communicate in English or also in Portuguese as well, or how did you interact with the technology with regard to your story?
What I did was I told what I wanted, like help me to create a prompt about a girl with the hair made of flowers, with brown skin girl, and then I gave him a paragraph, like, and helped me to illustrate this image. And then when I gave the paragraph, it created the prompt, and then I passed to the AI image generator. It was in English.
Got you. And how many times did you have to keep doing that, like on average?
I think 3 days.
3 days.
Yeah, it was kind of like 3 days, because every time would come, if the skin color was different, the hair wouldn't come up with the flowers, or vice versa, would come with the right skin but not the flowers, or not the flower, So I had to keep going until I got the final.
Yeah. Nice. So for all of you, again, who used AI, when, entering in your prompts and running into a similar obstacle Stephanie described about maybe not getting the output as yet, how did you also work around that, especially if you don't have the time necessarily to keep building on it? How did you problem solve or respond to any obstacles that came up for you with using it?
So to answer your question, like I said before, I didn't only use AI as a means to figure out my issues. So I also had YouTube as well. And I also had like old forum posts from like 8 years ago, like Reddit and Quora stuff. And like, oh, what's a string, for example? And then there would be like some guy from 10 years ago, like, oh, this is exactly what you need to know. So even then, it's like, as long as you have like a computer and an internet source, you can use AI, but you can also pull up information on your own, and that's also a viable option.
So it's like a combination, like using different sources in order to
Yeah,
support your outcome.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
Mhm.
Gotcha.
Well, for me, a challenge that I had with AI on a personal project was yeah, that. It couldn't help me figure out how to do consistent dialogue in a natural, fluid kind of way for a novel that I have been working on. And I found that extremely frustrating because I wanted to have longer conversations between my characters that didn't seem empty or like filler. So what I did was I went to Google and I found another AI program called Novel AI, where they actually have a feature in it that does dialogue. And you type in your character, the scene that they're having together, and either you start it or you click on a button and the AI takes what you give and it starts the conversation. And I found that extremely helpful, and it completely changed my world because I used it for about 2 months and then my free trial was over. But being able to do the dialogue on my own came to me easier than before I started using it, and I haven't needed to resubscribe yet. So
Very interesting.
Yeah, I think for me, like some of the challenges I've found with ChatGPT specifically is that, like, although AI is like, it's happening and we're all seeing it, it's still very new. And I feel like there's a long way to go with it. I've noticed that in using it, like to get prompts, like there is a limit as to what it can give you. Like you will ask the same question and it kind of like rephrases the same answer like several different times. And so it kind of pushes you as a person to like, you know, uh, dig deeper into your critical thinking. Like, okay, this is not working. What can I actually come up with on my own? So that was one of the challenges. And something else I wanted to say, just to touch base on what my fellow BCC students said. YouTube University is a real thing. Like there, you can find anything on there, and I find it to be very helpful oftentimes. So let's agree on that. Anybody else?
I definitely agree. YouTube or university is definitely a real thing. As far as, can you repeat the question? I'm sorry.
How did your challenges maybe deepen your learning
Right.
experiences?
Yes. So
Yeah.
as far as like sourcing AI probably was definitely a challenge for me, because you want to be as honest and as authentic as possible. And so if you do use AI in any piece of your work, you do want to source your work within the AI. And so I guess showing that you did use AI in your paper is a red flag for instructors. And so is definite that has definitely been an obstacle for me.
Yeah. You said something very important because I have a question about, first impressions, but also this point about like citation too, because there are some instructors who, do permit use in their course of AI and who want you to be transparent and figuring out, how they may give you some guidance on how to cite. Does anybody have any thoughts or did you have any experiences where AI showed up in your classrooms and you were permitted to use it, and did you get any guidelines about how to cite your use?
Yeah, Professor Lyon and Lundberg, they told us like, if you want to use AI, you're free to use it. Just cite the AI, because just to show that you're using it. Because at the beginning it was like you can't use it at all. Like I had another professor that he gave me a 0 because he used AI to detect AI, and I used to use Grammarly. So Grammarly, I don't know, I was like, man, do you know how smart I am in Portuguese? But English is not my first language and I need something. So I use a Grammarly like to help me to improve what I want to say. Like, because sometimes even though you want to express yourself, like you write, I usually write the whole thing in Portuguese and then I translate, I use a translator to English, and then I use Grammarly to make sure the punctuation is correct and everything. And then he used his AI detector and he found that I used Grammarly and he gave me a 0. So that was like, come on. And then I was like, but AI is not thinking for me. I'm doing my project. I just needed some help with punctuation because it's a language that I'm not used to. It's new for me and I needed help. And sometimes I don't have time to come here to the writing center to do it. So I'm adult. I need to work. I did myself.
Understandable. If sure, Giancarlos,
Yeah,
please.
I was gonna agree with that. I definitely agree with that. Like with me at least is definitely at least starting the essay would be the most difficult part for me. So at least structuring the essay, and so that's where I use AI. I ask AI what should be my intro, what should be my body paragraphs, and what should I include in my conclusion. And so that's the part where I use AI. And so that's how I source it and I citate. I mean, I put it on my citations, and I try to be as honest as I can.
Yeah, honesty is key. I feel like I have to plug really quickly and be like, on the student-facing side, I have to always remind people, please always check in with your instructors, of course, about use. So it sounds good. It's really refreshing to hear that you guys are already thinking about that and trying to figure out ways to be transparent and honest, and also learning from your challenges. I have a question, speaking of, again, citations, but more about integrity. On your campuses, I'm sure you guys have received information just that makes like primers about what AI is and maybe some guidance on even if you are permitted to use it. And in my experience, integrity comes up a lot, not only in the literature, but just figuring out, if you're going to use it, you need to cite it. It needs to align with maybe some policies, be it by your instructor or elsewhere as it regards your campus. And so I'm kind of curious if, those guidelines for using AI in a way that speaks to integrity also parallels existing guidelines about academic integrity. Do you think it's more of a challenge to observe integrity when you're using generative AI tools? Does it feel different from what is already expected of you?
I believe that the instructor needs to be educated about AI so he can educate their students about AI. It's like when you have a child and you don't teach your child about sexual health, your child is going to find out one way or the other, and sometimes it's not the way you want it. So if you have this relationship with your students, like my professors had, like you can use it, but be honest, cite, do this way. Don't let AI think for you. Don't just copy and paste the assignment and leave it there, and the AI will generate the whole thing, but it's not what it's supposed to be. You have to learn. So I think communication and building a relationship between the mentors and the students would be a great way to do it.
Any other thoughts about, how AI may support or maybe encourage you to figure out, how to go about academic integrity? Any other thoughts?
Definitely take a look at the academic policies. I take a look at the syllabus, see if AI is permitted in the class. If it isn't, then it isn't. I don't use it for the class. But yeah.
Yeah. Would you say the same, and we're coming to the end of our time on the panel pretty soon, but would you say also, you guys touched on how it showed up in your classroom experiences, but thinking about the topic of the showcase and authentic learning and applying what you learn outside of the classroom, would you say similar is the case for you in terms of using AI and any obstacles you encountered outside of the classroom if you had to use it for, let's say, an internship or your professional experiences?
I don't think I have an answer for this, but I think for me, like there's been a lot of things that I've learned in college now that I've been able to take into the workplace. Specifically, like I'm taking a public speaking class right now, and I'm an artistic director. I work with young people, and so there's a bunch of times where I'm public speaking, like I am now. So it's something that I use on the regular. I've found that now that I understand that ChatGPT is a tool, like he was saying earlier, there are several instances where I can use it. I think if I'm going back to what you were saying now about integrity, for me on a personal level, like I'm an artist, right? So I had to like check in with myself always and be like, is this art what I'm creating? Is it me, right? Like, and I feel like it has to speak to what I want to say. And so I think as long as you on that personal level, like check in with yourself and say, is this what I'm creating right now? Is it really me? Then I think you won't run into that wall of like, what am I doing? Is what I'm doing right now real? Like, you know what I mean? So yeah, just that. That's what I can say to that.
That's real.
I also want to make it like I agree with you completely, but even on an artist level, right? AI cannot replace a human in terms of in terms of creativity, in terms of the way we think. And so it would be impossible for us to put something into a machine and expect it to be a Picasso. It would never, right? So and you'll notice if you see a lot of AI generated pictures, sure, they might be beautiful, but it's a sense of emptiness in them. And so I think that AI can be a really good tool to use, but it can never really replace what you have in your head. And I feel that way when it comes to the times that I use AI outside of school as well, in terms of production, in terms of fitness, anything. So yeah, that's really all I have to say.
I agree with you guys as well. I feel that AI is a very useful and honestly a necessity at this point because there's no hiding from it. It's only going to get better as a tool, and it should really start to enter every single classroom in teaching us how to use it properly as a tool and not lose ourselves and know how to use it as a creative expression to help us broaden our already uh, ideas that we have, to use it more as a think tank and to not use it as a cheat sheet, because it can't, it could only copy and paste what's already out there. It honestly cannot create. And that's what made me no longer fear AI. It will never replace the human expression or experience. It would just help us be able to broaden it more, expand on it more, and express it even louder. And yeah, that's my thoughts.
Any other thoughts on that?
Yeah, I agree with all of my peers. Like nowadays, everybody has a phone. And I bet with you that today or tomorrow, you're going to see an ad in your phone talking about AI because now the phones, they hear what we say and they will just throw on you a lot of advertisements. And it's literally in everything. We can't control how broad AI is. We just have to learn how to use as a tool, like they said. Like be smart and use smartly. Don't let it replace anything that you think because you won't be able to create or express what you want to say or what you think or what you want to expose for somebody. But yeah, you have to be smart enough to use as a tool.
Hear that. So I have at least two more questions left if we have enough time. And that's about tips, specifically for students who may be struggling in their learning experiences to have the kind of experiences that you guys have described here that I think is directly in conversation with what we mean when we say authentic, right? How you engage with your technologies, and how you go about your tasks. What tips would you offer to students who may not, have your use cases, who have your outcomes?
Well, I believe the main tip is if you need AI as a tool to create like a writing assignment, for example, you have to read. You have to read whatever it is in there, because AI is going to say something that you're not going to agree, or sometimes you don't even know that word. So you have to read and then you edit it and do it the way that you think it is what you think. So don't just create the thing and then a copy and paste. You have to read, you have to be part of the assignment. You can't just use a tool to create your assignment.
Yeah, I agree with that. One of the reasons why I use Copilot myself is because it gives me bullet points instead of just one paragraph like what ChatGPT usually does. So what that makes me do is read the bullet points, get the main ideas of those bullet points, and just basically put in my own thinking and interpret that into the text.
Yeah, I think for me, if I were speaking to any other students who were struggling, I'm not gonna lie, I would just keep it real old school and say that you have to work hard, right? School is like most things that are worth having is a commitment, right? And you have to be willing to put in the work. You have to be willing to persevere through struggles and hard times. And I think it's important to understand that AI is a tool. It's a new tool. We have it. We can utilize it, but it has to be set like the rest of the tools that we've always had, and understanding that it's not going to solve all of your problems, right? And you have to put in the work. You, like she said, you have to read, you have to study. There are times where you're going to have things that are offered to you where you can go out and have fun and have a good time. You have to be willing to sacrifice those things and put in the work so you can make it through, for sure.
My advice would be don't be afraid to use AI or go to YouTube and expand on the tools that we do have available to us. When I was asked if I used AI for this panel, I was honestly afraid to answer because it was my professor asking me, "Hey, do you use AI?" And I was like, and and it kind of made me sad after a while for feeling guilty in a sense for using AI, but knowing that I wasn't copying and pasting, knowing that I'm using it to help me create better, to help me explain things better. And it always just ends up inspiring me and going, oh, I didn't think I could write it that way. Oh, okay. And then next thing I know, it's still my words, it's still me. It just opened the door for me to think in that direction and keep running with it. So my advice would be don't feel ashamed, don't feel afraid. Use AI, go to YouTube, use the resources that are out there, and just keep learning.
I agree. And I guess advice to students that might not be using AI in the same way that we do would be just to be honest, whether being honest comes in the form of letting your teacher know that you do use AI, or the fact that maybe the teacher is against AI, but you think that it will help you in your certain situation. And so maybe next year, if you have the same class, maybe next semester, excuse me, they might make an edit to the to their syllabus, and they might actually include it now because you made your recommendation. And I'd say to the professors, I see a lot of smiles, so I assume you guys have this, but having the nuance to be like, well, I do understand your situation. You did come here from Argentina or from a part of Europe or something 2 years ago, so I understand you might not be the best at English. So I understand your situation. Just be honest with me. Because when you try to have someone hide things, no, excuse me, when you try to restrict people like too harshly, that's when people become secretive. and you don't want that. Thank you.
Would anybody else like to add their final thoughts? Okay. I think this is a good time to maybe turn to the audience and ask if anybody has any questions for our panelists. Otherwise, I have an exit ticket. Any questions from our audience? Yes, I see one over here. Can you, let me stand up. Thank you.
For the video, thank you. Great talk as well. For the video, all the images were consistent. Were you using a specific platform to generate the same character constantly? Come around.
I found an app that is called Dreams, and that app specifically is a AI generator, imaging generator, and allows you to put the first image you created, so you can put to have a reference. So that reference, you are able also to pick like the percentage you want that image to be look alike. For example, I put the first image. Come here. So the first image of Flora. I'm sorry. This one. So I used that one and I put like 11%, and then I asked to create the next image. So I was able to be a little more consistent than I was being with other type of apps. Dream, yes.
Thank you so much. Any other questions? All right, exit ticket time. Oh, yeah. Yes. All right. I got to wrap it up, but exit ticket really quickly. What are you looking forward to now that the summer is upon us? You guys are probably in the midst of finals, but anything you're looking forward to as we approach summer?
It's hot outside.
Creating content for my YouTube channel.
Oh, plug the YouTube channel.
Hello. Oh, okay. My YouTube channel is called Moody Muse Productions, and it is how do I put it? I do a whole. It's like my portfolio, since I am taking media communications. So right now it has movie reviews. Some vlogs about Comic-Con that I edited together that looked like a little trailer, and a music video. So there's a few and many more to come this summer that I've been working on. So I have a lot of editing for the next like 3 months. Thank you.
Congrats.
First and foremost, a break from classes. I'm thinking about taking summer classes this summer. I'm going to be starting a new program here with the Possibility Project at the Youth Justice Program. I'm also an active competitor in jiu-jitsu, so I'm going to be competing a lot this summer, so I'm looking forward to that. Looking forward to making some new music, a lot of good things, so yeah.
I actually got a scholarship for the Fashion Fund in New York City.
Congrats.
So, yeah. So I'll be having this experience that I have no idea what it is about, but I know it involves fashion. And I also got admitted to 2 senior colleges to complete my nursing degree.
Congrats.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so I would take a break from classes, enjoy my graduation, the 29th, and plan for next steps in school.
Stephanie, you're gonna thrive no matter what.
Thank you.
Nursing, art, writing, so forth,
man.
fashion.
Yeah.
Go off.
I'm definitely excited that the classes are going to be over. I'm gonna take a break for the summer, and I'm gonna probably go to some car shows, some car meets, hopefully, and yeah, it'll be probably a good time.
I'm planning on working this summer. There's this summer youth program, this SYP, and that's what I'm planning on doing.
Nice. All right. Thank you guys so much. That's all our time. All right.